Diddy's trial is about to explode, and the most unexpected name caught in the crossfire is Justin Bieber. Shocking new evidence suggests Bieber wasn't just a witness to Diddy's dark world. He may have been one of its youngest victims. From secret tapes to betrayal by the people he trusted most, what's about to be revealed could shake the entire industry. Tomorrow, Diddy walks into court to face some of the most damning allegations of his life. But behind the scenes, a name we all know, Justin Bieber, is quietly preparing for what could be his most important appearance yet. At just 13, Bieber was thrust into the hands of Hollywood's elite, and now he might be the one to finally take them down. What really happened between Justin and Diddy? And how deep does this go? Let's find out. In the world of celebrity trials, few have ever drawn as much attention, fear, and speculation as the one about to unfold: the federal case against Sean Diddy Combs. Known for his music empire, lavish lifestyle, and endless connections, Diddy has long been seen as untouchable, a mogul above consequence. But that illusion is cracking, and standing quietly in the shadows of this legal storm is someone the world never expected to see involved: Justin Bieber. For most of the public, Justin Bieber's name evokes memories of catchy pop hits, teenage stardom, and global success. But beneath that polished image is a story that's only now beginning to come into focus, a story that could become a turning point in Diddy's downfall. Because sources close to the investigation have claimed that Justin is not just peripherally linked to the case, he may be a central piece. In the days leading up to the trial, there's been a sudden flurry of whispers from inside legal circles. Bieber has allegedly been subpoenaed to testify, and while neither he nor his team have publicly confirmed it, court insiders say his name appears on a sealed witness list. If that's true, it's more than just shocking, it's explosive. For years, Bieber has tried to escape his past. The chaotic headlines, the breakdowns, the awkward interviews, they all seemed like the growing pains of fame. But now, with these new revelations, we're forced to ask, were those signs of a deeper trauma? Was Justin Bieber, the teenage superstar, actually a victim of something far more sinister? Tomorrow, Diddy's legal team walks into a courtroom to defend him against a mountain of accusations, from trafficking to blackmail to a... But behind the scenes, a bigger story is unfolding. A story that could pull back the curtain on decades of Hollywood secrets. And it begins with a 13-year-old boy from Canada who just wanted to sing. To understand how Justin Bieber became tangled in Diddy's orbit, you have to rewind the clock and look at the path that led him there. Before the fame, before the world tours and platinum records, Justin was just a kid, posting videos on YouTube from a small town in Canada. His voice was raw, his style unpolished, but there was something undeniably captivating about him. It didn't take long for talent manager Scooter Braun to discover that potential and decide he had found the next big thing. But Scooter didn't have the connections or influence to make Justin a star overnight, so he did what anyone would in the entertainment industry. He reached out to someone who did: Usher Raymond. At the time, Usher was a chart-topping artist with his own success story. He knew what it meant to rise from nothing and become a household name. So when Scooter showed him Justin's videos, the connection was instant. The public was told that Usher took Justin under his wing out of admiration, but what if that wasn't the whole truth? According to multiple industry insiders, Diddy was already watching from behind the scenes. He was intrigued by the buzz around Justin, but didn't want to draw attention to himself by stepping in directly. So instead, he leaned on someone he already had history with: Usher. The same Usher who, years earlier, had been mentored by Diddy in what would later be described as deeply inappropriate and exploitative circumstances. This wasn't just a mentor helping a rising star, it was a handoff, a calculated move. The allegations suggest Diddy used Usher as a middleman, someone who could bring Justin in without raising suspicion. Usher's role was to make the connection seem safe, parental, even protective. But in hindsight, it looks eerily similar to what happened to him. When Usher was just 13, his own mother entrusted him to Diddy's care. And what Usher experienced under that roof, according to his own words, was far from normal. So the question becomes, did Usher knowingly pass the trauma forward? Did he see in Justin a younger version of himself and still lead him down the same path? Or was he so entangled in the system that he convinced himself it was just how the industry worked? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear: Justin wasn't handed to Diddy by accident. It was orchestrated, and the scars from that decision may still be shaping his life today. If the term flavor camp sounds strange, that's because it was never meant to be taken seriously, at least not by the adults who created it. To them, it was just a nickname, a slick, flashy phrase used to describe what was essentially a summer mentorship under one of the biggest names in hip-hop. But when you peel back the layers, flavor camp takes on a far darker meaning. In the early 1990s, a young Usher was sent to live with Diddy. He was only 13. His record label at the time, LaFace Records, led by L.A. Reid, believed that staying with Diddy would toughen him up, help him understand the industry, and give him that edge needed to succeed. But Usher later described the experience in a way that made it clear. He was a child, placed into an adult world he didn't understand. There were curious things happening in that house, Usher admitted, things he couldn't explain, couldn't process, and definitely couldn't unsee. There were women, late-night parties, drugs, and chaos. It wasn't a mentorship, it was an initiation. Now, fast forward over a decade, and we see the same cycle repeat itself, but this time with Justin Bieber. At just 13, Justin too was flown out, introduced to industry giants, and placed under Usher's guidance. And once again, behind Usher was Diddy. The parallels are disturbing. Two child stars, both handed off by adults they trusted, both exposed to environments no minor should be near, and both used, allegedly, as pawns in a much larger, darker game. One has to wonder, if Usher knew what Diddy was doing, why did he send Justin down the same road? The cynical answer? Because that's how the system works. Victims become gatekeepers. They survive by normalizing the abuse, by convincing themselves it was part of the hustle. And in turn, they usher in the next generation of victims, literally and figuratively. The entertainment industry is no stranger to cycles like this, but rarely are they this visible, this blatant, or this eerily mirrored. Flavor camp wasn't a one-time thing. It was a blueprint. And Justin Bieber, like Usher before him, was drawn into its web. And once you're in that web, getting out isn't just difficult, it can be dangerous. In the beginning, it all looked like a dream. Justin Bieber was rising fast. Magazine covers, sold-out shows, and a fandom that rivaled the biggest stars on the planet. But underneath the glitz and glamour, there were signs that something wasn't right. Subtle moments caught on camera, awkward exchanges that didn't sit well, glimpses of discomfort that, at the time, were easy to ignore. One of the most disturbing examples came from a moment that was supposed to be lighthearted, an appearance with Diddy on national television. Diddy proudly announced that he had custody of Justin for the next 48 hours. He joked about them going wild, with a grin that felt more sinister than funny. Justin, visibly nervous, tried to play along. But if you look closely, you can see it. The forced smile, the stiff posture, the eyes that flicker with unease. It wasn't just one incident either. Multiple interviews from that era show Bieber being put in bizarre situations, asked inappropriate questions, surrounded by older celebrities, laughed at when he looked uncomfortable. In one clip, Diddy brags about getting Justin a Lamborghini. In another, he accuses Bieber of acting different because he hadn't been calling him back. It plays like a possessive adult chastising a child, not like an industry mentor encouraging a young artist. Even other celebrities seemed to sense that the relationship was off. Jokes were made, but behind those jokes was something darker, an open secret. People in the room knew what Diddy's reputation was. They had heard the whispers, seen the parties, watched the footage. Still, no one said a word, and then there were the comments. Offhand remarks that took on new meaning over time. Things like, "You're starting to act different," or "I had custody of him." They weren't just jokes, they were power plays. Claims of control, statements meant to remind Justin and everyone else that he belonged to someone. For years, fans brushed these things off. Just part of the Hollywood machine, just harmless fun between a rising star and a powerful figure. But hindsight is sharp. And when you rewatch those moments today, they don't feel harmless. They feel like warning signs. Signs that Justin was in over his head. Signs that the people around him were more interested in owning him than protecting him. Signs that the real story was unfolding right in front of our eyes. And we didn't even see it. By the time Justin Bieber turned 16, the world thought he had everything: money, fame, fans, and the freedom to do whatever he wanted. But behind the headlines and chart-topping hits, he was quietly unraveling. The smile that once lit up red carpets became harder to find. His eyes looked tired, distant, And as the years went on, the cracks in his perfect image became impossible to hide. There were the canceled concerts, the emotional breakdowns, the erratic behavior. Justin was acting out. But it wasn't just teenage rebellion. It was a desperate attempt to cope. Many fans thought it was the pressure of fame or bad influences from his entourage, but those who were paying attention could tell it went deeper. Much deeper. According to sources close to him, Justin began showing signs of emotional distress in his late teens, pulling away from people he once trusted, including Usher. He began using drugs heavily, and insiders now believe it was a coping mechanism, a way to numb himself from memories he couldn't shake. And then came the rumors. Rumors that Diddy had tapes that showed Justin at Diddy's infamous parties. Tapes that no one wanted to admit existed, but that everyone in the industry quietly feared. The whispers say Diddy used these tapes to control people, to blackmail them. And Bieber allegedly was on one of them. If true, that means Justin has been living in fear for years, terrified that evidence of what happened to him could be released at any moment, trapped in a silence he never chose. And it's not just about fear, it's about betrayal. Because while the public saw Usher as Justin's protector, someone who guided him through the chaos of early fame, Justin eventually saw it differently. In court documents, he downplayed Usher's role in his success. At one point, he even said meeting Usher was detrimental to his career. That's not a throwaway line, that's a loaded accusation. Justin didn't just lose trust in the people who discovered him, he lost trust in everyone. There's a clip of him crying on stage while his wife Haley tries to comfort him. He breaks down in front of thousands of fans. No words, just pain. It's easy to look at that and call it drama. But when you know what he might be holding inside, it starts to look like something else. A child who was used, a teenager who was ignored, a man who was silenced. And now, that silence might finally be broken. You'd think Usher, once a victim himself, would have stepped in. But instead, he played along. He invited Bieber to perform at the Super Bowl, posed as a mentor, and laughed off the scandals that haunted Justin for years. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. In legal proceedings, Bieber downplayed Usher's role in his career, calling him irrelevant, even detrimental. Eventually, he unfollowed him altogether. It was clear, whatever relationship they had was over. And it wasn't just about music, it was about betrayal. In 2020, Bieber released a song called Yummy. On the surface, it was a catchy pop single, but some fans saw something darker. The video featured eerie pink lighting, lavish feasts, and adults watching Justin like prey. Then came the wardrobe shift. Everyone dressed in white, a possible nod to Diddy's infamous white parties, exclusive celebrity gatherings shrouded in secrecy. Was Justin trying to tell us something? Was Yummy a coded cry for help? Then came the Cassie lawsuit. She didn't just file a claim, she blew the entire case wide open. Alleging a decade of control, abuse, and trafficking, Cassie named names, detailed events, and exposed Diddy's private world. She even hinted at a ring of exploitation involving young stars and industry executives. The shocking part? Many believe Usher was part of that ring, and Justin one of its youngest victims. Now, Cassie is preparing to testify in court, and her words may echo the ones Justin's been too afraid to say. According to reports, Diddy's not just hoarding tapes, he's selling them. Insiders claim footage featuring top celebrities, including Bieber, Rihanna, and Drake, was auctioned on the dark web for $500 million. Why would he sell such damning evidence? Because he doesn't plan to stand trial. This, they say, is his final cash grab before the empire collapses. And if those tapes exist, it's no wonder Justin has stayed silent. He's not just a victim. He's a prisoner of the secrets he can't reveal. As the trial looms, Diddy's legal team is in disarray. One of his top lawyers just walked away without explanation. Their defense? That Diddy was too intoxicated for years to know what he was doing. But no one's buying it. The evidence is stacking up. Videos, testimonies, and insider confessions. And now, with Cassie taking the stand and Bieber possibly next, Diddy's circle is closing in. What once seemed untouchable now seems inevitable. Tomorrow, Diddy faces justice. But the real reckoning may come from those he hurt the most, like Justin Bieber. For years, Justin carried the weight of what happened in silence. Now, with the world watching and the courtroom doors opening, he has a choice. Stay quiet or speak the truth. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. We're watching every twist and turn together. See you next time!